Hi, I'm Diana Journey with The Journey Through, and tonight I'm at this live launching party, virtual, to introduce my new book that's just being released, Splintered Hearts, Untangling the Chaos of Infidelity. And this book is very near and dear to my heart. And the reason it's very near and dear to my heart is because my story is in here. I've been one of the betrayed spouses, or I have been a betrayed spouse. And this book has a total of 14 stories. There are 13 brave women who've joined me in sharing their stories and been very vulnerable in it. I believe that their hope was like mine, that they wanted to give encouragement and hope to others who are going through the chaos and the destruction of infidelity and being betrayed. So tonight, I'm just so excited because I have several of the authors who are willing to just speak to why they wanted to be in the book and what was their reasoning and what they hope others will get or glean from their stories. And so, first of all, I want to just thank my publisher, who isn't here right now, but Hannah Moon and her publishing company, because if it wasn't for her, it would not be in this nice, neat paperback book. And also, I mean, there's a lot of people to thank, because Christine Dupree made this beautiful cover for the book, and she really captured in her graphic exactly what I foresaw the book looking like, because that's what to me that's what a broken heart, a splintered heart from infidelity looks like. You know, you see the red on the one side, which is the healthy one, but you see the darkness on the other side. And that's exactly what a lot of us felt when we were betrayed, was that darkness. So, great cover. So tonight, like I said, I have several of the authors who are in the book who are willing to speak. And I'm going to start first with Diane Cunningham. I'm going to unmute. Diane. And, you know, if it wasn't for Diane, to be honest, this book wouldn't even have ever even come to my mind. I was in one of Diane's books that she did, Rock Bottom, and it was because of being in her launch party that I really saw the vision for this book. So Diane, would you like to introduce yourself? Speak a little about your business, because I know you have a business that a lot of people are going to want to hear about. And then tell us, why did you say yes to me? And what do you hope others are going to glean from your story?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal to write a book, and it's an even bigger deal to invite people to come with you on the journey. So I'm Diane Cunningham, and I have two businesses. I'm the founder and president of the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs. And a lot of the women here in the room are my people, my tribe. Mm-hmm. And I'm also not just a coach, and a former counselor, and a woman in recovery from alcoholism and many, many other addictions. I said yes to sharing in this book. The book series that Diana is a part of, and a couple other women in the room, is Rock Bottom is a Beautiful Place. And I wrote that after I got to one of my rock bottoms, and then we continued to have books like this, where I invited women to share their story. And I remember how frightened I was to share my story in that first book, but also how I felt I needed to,
Mm,
because if I could help just one woman, then it was my job.
right.
And so the reason I was brave enough to say yes to be in your book, because this was scary for me to write this in a different way.
Mm,
And even like looking through it again today, it made me queasy. It made me queasy because it's one thing. I don't know. It's a different feeling, and so I wanted to be brave enough to do that, and so that's why I decided to share my story in your book. And I know what it feels like to be that one lying on the floor crying, and really not know what else to do at that point, and have to carry on. I mean, I know what it feels like to have, their show must go on. Or life goes on, and that we've all had splintered hearts, whether we're in this book or not. I'm pretty sure everybody can relate to a story or two or all or the whole book. But I hope readers that grab a hold of this book today or a year from now, I hope they know they're not alone. I hope they feel our pain so that they recognize their own. And I hope that women and men, whoever end up needing the stories in here, I hope that they are willing to raise their hand and say, I need help. Because truly we all need help. Every day we need help. And yes, prayer, we love prayer. Prayer is fantastic, but we need real people to talk to as well.
right.
And so, I believe that real stories matter, and I'm proud and honored to be a part of your first compilation book.
Thank you. I'm proud and honored that you were in it and you told your story so eloquently. So thank you. And like I said, if you hadn't been there, if I hadn't seen your books, and if you hadn't been there to support me through it, this book would not be here today. So thank you. So. Next, we're going to go on to Gwen. Is that okay, Gwen? Are you ready? I unmuted you.
Okay. My name is Gwen Ebner, and I am a retired professor at a seminary where I taught counseling and family. And I am now doing life coaching, speaking, and writing books. And it's really been a major change for me. I worked all my life, but I am starting to like it, to have freedom. It's really fun. Why did I say yes? Well, I'll tell you. My daughter talked me into it. And I kept saying, I don't need
Thank you to your daughter.
Yes, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. No, I've got another book. I had 2 other books going at the time I was writing. And I thought, well, all I need is one more thing, But, I think God just said I should write it. And I had no idea that this book would be helpful to me. Had hoped my story would be helpful to others, and it has been for many people that I've told my story to. And I remember thinking when I was first divorced, I felt like I had some kind of word on my forehead because everyone somehow recognized I was divorced, or I always was telling my story. But I think that the amazing thing that happened was I decided to go back and read my journals from that period of time. And my story is unique because I waited 5 years and never filed for divorce. And I lived alone. And that's just what God told me to do. And I probably wouldn't have grown as much had I divorced right away. And so I'm thankful today, but that was pure agony to go through uncertainty for 5 years.
Right.
But I believe that God taught me so much. And when I went back and read my journals, it had been 10, 15 years earlier. I couldn't believe when I read the whole story, because I hadn't read those journals since I wrote them. and
Mm-hmm.
see the whole picture and what God had done. And I'll tell you, I just cried because I'd forgotten how present God was with me. And I think anyone going through this can be assured that God is with you. And you will identify with some story, whether you identify with mine or not. And unfortunately, my marriage never came back together again. And I really wanted it to, and that's why I held off. But God was faithful, and I'm married to a wonderful man. And God is good. It's just amazing. And I hope readers will gather from my story all the things that God grew me in, and how I finally quit looking at my husband and his infidelity. And I started, God said, look at yourself and what your part of it was. And when I began to do that, I began to grow in amazing ways. And it's just, God's so awesome. And so I hope as you read my story, you will see that God is faithful and that God can grow you in an amazing way, and that he does not waste anything that happens in your life.
No, amen to that. Yeah, thank you. And you know, that is so true. And I know that even for writing my own story in the book, there was times that I was kind of like, I don't want to tell this anymore. You know, I don't want this to be my story, but it is my story. And what I would hear God saying, Diana, you have to tell the story because I need it for others. Others need to hear it. So, and they need to know how God worked in your life, Gwen, and how he worked in my life and Diane's life and everyone else in the book. And that's the one thing I did hear in this book, as I read it, every story over and over, was how God worked in every woman's life when she was going through. And he didn't ever leave them, not one of us. Even though we felt maybe we were alone in it, he was right there with us. So it's going to be your story, Gwen, Diane's story. They're powerful stories. And I know that they're going to offer so much hope and encouragement to people who are going through. So thank you.
I'm still using some of the things I learned from that time in my life. It's so amazing. I love it.
I know. And he's going to keep using them too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's really is amazing to me, is to see how he's going to continue to use them. So thank you. Okay. Judy, are you ready? I'm going to unmute you.
I want to also thank you for putting the book together, inviting me to be a part of it, and also a part of this launch for this very powerful book that will touch the lives of women, I think, first, and then there's a carryover into how they see the spouse who betrayed them. As is saying, you need to have that perspective as well as on yourself. And I'm the founder of Women of Value, and I said yes to being in this book because I wrote for someone named Catherine. And as a young girl, I found myself trapped in the darkness of a car at a drive-in movie. That has affected the way I grew up. It's affected my perspective on life. And it has given me a heart for other people, other women who have found themselves in betrayal of any kind, but particularly in the area of pornography. And that's what Catherine wanted me to share in this book. One major incident in her life, which I think encompasses the ups and downs of the emotions and the trauma. Being betrayed by pornography can be qualified as a PTSD result, post-traumatic stress disorder. Those who haven't been through it might minimize it. Those who have been through it understand that that is a real, you're talking about having something on your forehead that identifies you.
Mm-hmm.
PTSD is an identifier that is often lost. In this particular story by Catherine, what I think is significant is not so much the incident of Bagel Betrayal Day, which is laid out in gut-wrenching recollection, like Gwen reading her journals. I mean, it is like a journal entry, but it goes into the questions that women have and the lies that go in their head, like, is it me? Is it me? What is a good Christian wife supposed to do? Just submit to whatever he wants me to do? Ignore it? Stuff my own feelings? This was a biggie for Catherine. Continue to pretend we're the perfect family to the outside world. Trust this time he really means he's sorry. He'll repent and he'll stop it from happening again. And then there's the question, which takes a long time to get to, is my spouse addicted to porn? So we're talking about what hope we want to leave the viewers with. And in this particular article, it's how have I recovered? So there are lots of ways that Catherine recovered. And the hope that I want to leave people with is that women need to know they are valuable in God's eyes, regardless of what the culture, the family, media, or other people tell them. They are worthy of respect and dignity. And as an author, an advocate, and coach, that's what I try to do, is I am like the key that unlocks that treasure that is within them. Thank you so much for putting this book together.
Thank you. And you know, Judy, you touched on a couple things that I think is important that really came out in this book, and that is that betrayal or infidelity, excuse me, it's not pigeonholed. There's no one kind of betrayal. And betrayal has different elements and different, like pornography. There's one story in here, it's anonymous. She doesn't, the writer of that story doesn't even know if there was what we would consider betrayal. But her husband, the betrayal is that he just totally distracted himself and disassociated with his spouse. That's a type of betrayal. So there's no one betrayal. There's many different types. And, you know, the truth is that we all, no matter what the betrayal was, we all start to wonder, are we worthy? Which is what you were, saying that Catherine felt. Am I worthy? So that is really what it's about. There's no pigeonhole, and there's no pigeonhole for healing either. So as the reader reads this book, they're going to see different steps that people took in their healing. And there's no right way. It's our way. It's right. What's right for us individually. And so that's what I love about the different stories. So thank you for sharing Catherine's story with us.
Thank you.
So, okay, the next one I know that is going to speak is Doreen. And we're not going to get a visual on Doreen, but we can't get audio. Is that correct, Doreen? Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So, Doreen, you kind of heard everyone else talk, so you know what I'm looking for. Just something about yourself, introduce yourself, something about it. You know, I know you don't really, many in the room have a business kind of associated, but that's not exactly yours, but you do have a business. So maybe just share a little bit about that because it's kind of related to your story too.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Doreen, and Diana, I thank you so much for inviting me to join you and all the other ladies in this book. My business is a little different than everyone else's. I own a synthetic grass and putting greens company. So I kind of work in a man's industry after retiring in banking 25 years. But through all of this, it's been very eye-opening. When you asked me if I'd like to be in the book, I can remember our first meeting, and the one thing I shared with you was the frustration I had when I found out about my husband's affair, and just not wanting anyone to know, but trying to just find an answer immediately. So I ran to the closest Christian bookstore, in which there wasn't one book on the shelf about infidelity. And at that point, I wanted to hear some positives. I wanted to hear how other people got through it and how I was going to get through it. And it's not funny, but I remember walking out of there with a book about having, it's called Monogamous Red Hot Love Affair. And I thought, oh my word, what am I thinking? But there wasn't anything there to help me through what I was going through. So I have led several women's Bible studies. And one of the biggest things I've always said is, make your mess God's message. And so when this happened, I knew that however the ending was going to come out, I needed to share my message with others for encouragement, for hope, and to know that God is there with you through the entire time in your storm. I'm a little different than some of the ladies that spoke already. Actually, this week marks the anniversary of when I actually found out for the second time of my husband's affair. So it's still new, but we have worked through it. And of course, as you all know, it's a journey that you go through for a long time. But I see a changed man. I see a man of God in him working through me, through him, and through our family. My story encompasses the involvement of my daughter, and sometimes we want to leave that piece out, but she was an integral part of all of it, and being encouraging and being supportive, and through her faith, keeping our family strong. The other point of my story was just how important it is to surround yourself with other Christian women, encouraging women, encouraging people in general. And I just feel that another integral part is coaching that I received through you, and that Spencer received through Tim. And just really want to encourage others to seek that. And my story is to seek it prior to this ever happening as a preventative, and just really becoming intentional in a marriage before you get to where we ended up.
That's really powerful. And that's, I think a hope of a lot of us in this room is that if we could get to these, if we could give the couples and individuals the tools and the information to build that strong marriage, and to weather those storms, because there's going to be storms. I mean, that's life. There's going to be storms, but we have to be strong enough to weather them. So to be able to get to them beforehand. What a huge difference we can make. You know, I know that, and you talked about Tim, you know, Tim's desire is to help men so they can make better choices, right? Versus
Right.
some of the choices they've made. And so what a legacy that is to leave behind, all of us who are in this book, to leave behind the legacy that we're going to offer hope that someone can read this book and have the tools to press on. You know, there's a statistic, and I don't know that I've told you this, Doreen, but the statistic I recently read is that 50% of marriages that suffer infidelity do survive. And, you know, we don't hear that statistic, to be honest, because most of us, and I know that I'm one of them, so I would definitely be in that ballpark. You know, I believed that betrayal, infidelity, that was the deal breaker in my marriage. Tim made a commitment to me. I made a commitment to him. So if that was going to happen, that's the deal breaker. But when push came to shove, and that was my story, I had to look at the whole picture. We had 30 years of marriage. We had 4 children. I had to really stop and think about it. I couldn't just leave the marriage, and I had to work on it. As I often said, I know, Doreen, since I've coached with you, I've said this before, that I needed to make sure that whatever decision I made without regrets. So that was my focus. I was going to do the work to make sure that whatever it is, however my marriage ended, that I knew that I gave it 100% and that I didn't have any regrets. And I think that's what's important, you know, is that we all have to make the decision that's right for us, but we need to know that we put our whole 100% in it, and then this was the decision that was right for us. So you've done a great job, Doreen. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being part of it. And thank you for being my client. So.
Thanks.
And now Beth has entered the room, and Beth is one of our authors. Beth, can you hear me? Not sure. Beth? I may have to text her first. I'm going to go to Hannah real briefly. And Hannah, I kind of mentioned that, you know, you are our publisher. What I would like from you, Hannah, is maybe if you could just say, doing this book, what you saw in it, what value do you see? Because you do a lot of books.
Yeah, and I think that what attracted me to this book was just when you and I first started talking about it, because you said, this isn't just about the heartbreak. This is about the hope that God can give to anybody in these situations who is facing this in their lives. And that was something that I just absolutely loved, because there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of material out there that discusses infidelity, but there's still a lot of anger and bitterness in the writing. And people shouldn't be left in that anger and bitterness. And I think that's where these stories are just so awesome, because you don't shy away from the fact that you're just in the biggest pit of your life, but you do show that there's a way to climb out of it. And that hope is something that I feel like everybody needs who finds themselves in this. And so that was the thing that just attracted me to it right off the bat. And then when I started reading the stories and everything, I was just well, I was brokenhearted for the situations I read about, but I was also just, it was a moment of also praise to God that he can take so many broken pieces and put lives back together. And so, like I said, even though the message is heartbreak, there's hope afterwards. And that's what I think is missing in books of this type that are available. So I think that you guys have just done an amazing job.
Thank you. And that was my goal. My goal in the book was to give people encouragement and hope. Because in that broken state, you feel hopeless.
Right.
And, of course, we know, all of us in this room, that as a Christian, that God's not going to leave us in our broken state.
Right. Right.
But at that time, when you're that broken, and the person who made this promise that's going to love, honor, respect, and protect you has just shattered you to pieces, you're not so sure.
Right.
Right. You really aren't sure.
No, and I can see, where you can feel like, God has maybe abandoned you, or is, what is going on here? How is this, how is this working towards his purpose? How are things working out, that, where is God in all of this mess? But, like I said, the ending of the stories is what's just transformational. I think that, it's not just a matter of working through something. It's a matter that God is there and is with you. And that's really the encouragement I think that a lot of people need.
And, we heard earlier, Gwen was speaking, that, and she said that even as she went back through and she was reading her journals from back then, she had like an aha. Of something, and that's what happens too. We all grow and learn from this brokenness, and at the time, we don't think we're going to grow and learn from it. We think it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so to see these stories and see how people have grown, how they have come out of it, the steps they've taken, no matter what ended their situation, whether they stayed in the marriage, whether they didn't stay in the marriage, it didn't matter. It's what personally they gained from it and how they grew from it.
Right.
And I believe that was really shown. So,
and I just think it's kudos to all of you. I mean, there's a lot of bravery in bringing this book out, and that needs to be acknowledged from every single author that's in there. And I've never been through this experience, but personally, I know a lot of people who have, and I just think that y'all's willingness to put yourself out there like this is, God will bless it back 100-fold.
Well, we know he will. That's his promise to us. So
yes.
Thank you, and thank you for all your hard work on it.
Oh, sure.
And putting up with the novice.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for letting me help you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go to see if Beth was able to get to. Okay, let me unmute you, Beth, okay? Okay, let's see.
I'm unmuted. Yay!
All right, we got you. I'm so glad you joined us, Beth.
Thank you.
So, Beth, we've gone around the room for the authors who are willing to speak, just to tell us your name, a little bit about yourself. And I know you don't have a business right now in this sense.
Well, I actually work with Premier Designs. I've been doing that for 15 years. I do shows in ladies' homes.
Okay, but you're also gone back to school. So I'd like you to share that because that's probably related to your story, I'm assuming.
Yes, it is. I'm getting my master's in counseling.
Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourself and then just say why you said yes to me about being in the book and what you hope the readers will glean from your story, okay?
My name is Beth, obviously. I have 2 girls, youngest of which is about to go off to college. And I said, yeah, well, I'm going back to school, getting my master's in counseling. I actually hope to be an adolescent counselor.
Okay, good.
I said yes because I learned so much and going through this, and my relationship with God changed. It became so much deeper than I ever thought it could be, and I wanted other ladies to know they can survive this. They can grow and learn and not just survive but thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I've seen a transformation. I've known you for a while now.
Yes, you've quite a few years actually.
Quite a few years, yeah. And
Yeah.
I've really seen just, your growth. And you always had, from my perspective, you always had a strong faith.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that's what got you through a lot.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I don't know how people survive without it. I couldn't have done it without the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely could not have done it. There was one night in particular when I was ready to be done with life, and he got me through the night.
Yeah. Isn't he amazing?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We serve a good God.
We do. And you know what? There's probably everyone in the book could say there was nights when they felt the same way. That
No, absolutely.
they wanted to go on another second.
I can only imagine.
And that's the good thing about this book to me and all of us in this room right now who are speaking, we're being honest and real.
Yeah.
And, when you're that betrayed spouse and Diane mentioned earlier about being on the floor crying, can't get up.
Yeah.
And not thinking you want to go on another second.
Yeah.
People don't share that. And so when you're that new betrayed spouse and that's you think, oh my gosh, I'm the only one that feels this way.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that's thinking about ending my life. No one else ever thought that. And that's not true.
Well, and I remember when I reached out to other people who had been in a similar situation, I was amazed. I didn't say a word. When I was in that first meeting, I didn't say a word. I just listened. And I was amazed at the things they were saying because it was exactly what was going through my head.
Right.
Exactly what I was feeling in my heart. And I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. I'm not alone. Thank you. I'm not crazy. Other people have felt the same stuff.
Yeah. 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 And I know that Beth is talking about a support group, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The band support group. So,
yes.
And so there are support groups out there. And it's a great thing about going to a support group is that you sit there and you hear these other stories and you're not alone. Like you said, you didn't have to say a word. Everyone else was speaking exactly what you felt.
Yep.
Or had felt. So
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
that just gives you that, to me, that just makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm normal. I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to be able to get through this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I want to, but I'm going to be able to get through this because they're getting through it. So,
yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So Diana, while I've got you here, let me tell you, I'm getting married on September 23rd.
You are?
I am.
Congratulations. I have seen pictures of you on Facebook with someone.
Yes.
I almost, there was part of me that wanted to reach out and say, Beth, how serious is it? But I thought, no.
Yeah, we are getting married. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
That's the happy ending too. And that's what people need to know. Like Gwen had talked earlier, you weren't on, and she divorced, but then she said, I'm married to a wonderful man now.
Yes.
So there's hope that when that dream ends, there's hope for a new dream.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Well, and to be, you can trust again, and you can learn to love again, and I think the biggest thing was trusting me. Yeah. Trusting my being able to choose someone.
Right, because you chose your first husband.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
I see that Diana's getting married also. Congratulations.
Yes, Diane is getting married. She's getting married in July.
Here again.
Yeah. So she's learned to trust again too, right, Diane? Yeah. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing the pictures.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Good. And we're going to go to Amy because Amy's come on too. So let me get to her. Okay. Amy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. How are you, Amy?
I'm pretty fabulous. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Doing great. It's so wonderful that all these authors are here. And I'm just, I'm just in heaven because the book is here. It's a book. It's got pages. It's just exciting. So, and Amy, when you got yours in the mail, you sent me that email right away. And I sent it to Callie, and she, did a little quote from it, and we posted it on the Facebook page. So I'm really excited to hear you share tonight. So if you want to give your name, tell just a little bit about you, what you do. I know you have a blog, and then why you said yes to me about telling your story in the book, and what you hope others are going to glean from your story.
All righty, I sure will. I'm Amy. In my book, I put Amy Gray, but I've just decided to let it go. I'm Amy Gray Beatty. Just whole kit caboodle. I'm just letting it all free. I went on a women's youth group, women's group meeting this weekend, and it was just amazing with our church. And I just decided, I'm just going to share it, and I did, and just shared the book and showed them and told them about how the website and downloading the book, and just it's amazing. There's that light that turns on in women that have had so much betrayal in their lives that they know they're not alone. And of course, that's why I said yeah. So that was the hardest part for me, was just feeling so alone. But then in those first hours of despair, having Carla and you call me and talk to me, women I'd never even met. Just changed the whole dynamic. And of course, my story's pretty long and drawn out and pretty crazy, but just knowing that y'all were there for me and that marriages had survived was the huge part for me.
Right.
Because, of course, my family all made a decision pretty quick that I wasn't going to stay in the marriage when I did finally choose to tell them. And so knowing that I wasn't alone in making that decision to stay in my marriage was pretty huge. And so I hope that women can see the hope no matter what their choice is, whether to stay or to go. I just want them to be confident in that decision and know that they need to make that personal decision. They need to make that prayer. They need to allow God to work in their own lives, no matter the decision they choose to make.
Right.
So that's kind of where I stand.
Thank you. And you really touched on something that is so important. It doesn't matter if they stay in the marriage or they leave the marriage. What's important is that they themselves grow and heal, and they realize their relationship with their Father. So that's just so important, because we think it's got to end one way or the other. And, we think if we're heading towards, we want to save the marriage, we think that's what it has to be. If we're heading towards, we got to end the marriage, that's the way it's got to be. But we need to allow God to come into our life. And, because your story, and I know your story, you did end up in divorce, right?
Right. We did.
And yet God stepped in, right?
Yes, he sure did.
Yeah.
I mean, divorce, bigamy, you name it all.
And your story's got a lot of elements, definitely. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty about all the stories to me in this book, is that there's stories of people who were divorced and devastated. They didn't, and I hope it's okay, Beth, I'm going to use you, because I know Beth was really, really wanting to save her marriage. And she worked really, really hard, like you did, Amy, to try to save that marriage. But Beth's marriage didn't work out. He didn't ever come around.
Right.
And so hers ended.
Right.
But look at her ending. She still grew. She still got closer to her father. We heard that. And she's found love again. So that, to me, is what's important in this book. There are going to be marriages that work out, and there's going to be some marriages that don't. But what's most important is that either way, we are going to be okay as individuals. we're going to get through it. And we're going to be better. Because that's our choice. Our choice is to be bitter or better, but that's our choice. So you have a wonderful story, and I am so excited that you said yes to me. And I know it was through Carla. Carla was supposed to join us, but she didn't get on tonight. So I'm missing Carla. But because she's one of the stories that's the authors was named, and then we have quite a few that were anonymous. So and that's okay. They still wanted to share their stories to help other people see the hope, and that's what this book is about. So Amy, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your exciting email when you got those books. And you guys don't know what that does to me as I get those emails, or I get the message on Facebook or something, or a call. It just really gives me steam to press on, because and Hannah knows this in particular, this has not been an easy endeavor for me, because I personally have had a lot of things that have come into my life that kind of distracted me, took me away, and took the focus away. But yet, you all hung in there with me. So thank you for doing that, hanging in with me, and for us to finally get this and be able to say, it's here, it's here. It's just so exciting. So thank you. Thank you, Amy. I'm going to put you on mute now. Unless you have anything else you want to say.
Just thank you. I know all of us have grown so much from sharing our stories and talking to you and visiting with you. And just, I know from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Diana.
Oh, thank you, Amy. See, I'm going to cry too. Thank you. So, I've said it to many of you as we've talked, and I'm probably repeating myself, and I'm sorry for that. But the 13 women who have expressed themselves and been vulnerable enough to share their stories have really, really touched my heart. I so appreciate each and every one of you. And I know that this book is going to be so helpful to so many women and maybe men who are out there going through this chaos. I was that puddle on the floor, and I was searching for something like this, something that would give me hope that I could get through one more, sometimes just one more hour is all I wanted to get through. So I know that this is what the book's going to offer to so many. And it would not be possible, it would not have been possible without you authors coming and joining me. So thank you. So I think, unless anyone else has anything they would like to say, and all you have to do is put in the chat box and I'll unmute you. And if not, then I think we're done for the night. So I'll just give it a second. I love one of the chats in there. Callie wrote, lots of love in the room. And I did feel that. There was a lot of love in the room. So thank you, Callie, for writing that. And Judy said that, learning to trust again, that's really significant. And it's a process. But we can all get there. We just have to work through it, walk through it, get the help we need, whatever that looks like, and we can do it. So, and I see, remind how to get the book. You can get the book. Thank you, Judy. Callie, would you put that in the chat box so everyone can see it, maybe, for me? You can get it on the website. There, she put it in there, splinteredhearts.com. And you can also go to Amazon. For the authors in the book, in this room, you know, you can order yours directly if you want to have some to give to people, or to whatever you want to, however you want to use them, for your business, for your, just to help someone. If you have a friend or a family member, you can order directly from the company. And I've shared that before. So that's just how you can get them. Anything else? And thank you. I got a message from Laura. It says, you know, thank you for inviting her. Thank you for being. Thank you, Kim, for the congratulations. Let's see. And Callie says, tell everyone about the 5th spot. Yes. And Hannah says to tell you is you can get it on Kindle on free until Wednesday night, right, Hannah? Through Wednesday. So Callie says Hannah knows what she's talking about. So I'm going to unmute you, Hannah, on the 5th when she wrote that. So let me get to you. Okay. Okay. Hannah.
Yes, I've been going to the Kindle page and just kind of keeping up with the rankings and everything. And it was number 5 in the marriage and long-term relationships category today. So that is awesome.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yes, it is. That's very good. Need to everybody get the word out as best as they can, as far as to your friends. You know, if you don't mind posting on your Facebook page, remind your friends. I've already had several of my friends. I haven't been home all day long, and I just got in, and I posted the minute that I got in on my Facebook page. And I've already had several of my friends share it on their Facebook page, and that's how we get the momentum for the book going. So if y'all don't mind, you know, even if you're an anonymous author, you can still share the book on your page, you know, and just say, you know, you have your friend Diana has published this and just want to share it with everybody. And that way we can get the word out and keep the momentum going for these 3 days of the free promo, which would be great.
Yeah, thank you. And that is true. I know I shared it today on my page. And I had someone from high school that I really don't ever hear from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she immediately messages me. I went and downloaded it right away. And by the way, can you send me a hard copy? Because I want a hard copy because I knew you back when.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. So, you know, so please share it. You never know who might need it. And even for the anonymous ones, just to share it, you know, on your page. And like you said, you could always just say, my friend Diana, you know, has just published this book.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to know anything else. So,
right.
Yeah. So thank you.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I think that's good. So thank you all for coming, for being here, for sharing. And again, for all my authors sharing in your stories, because it really, really has blessed me, and I know it's going to bless many others out.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I unmuted you all, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Blessings to all of you.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
too. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.